Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway. Welcome to Building Wealth Together, where our goal is to help you walk in abundance and leave a legacy. It's Mindset Monday, where we take the best teachings on mindset, motivation, and leadership and apply them to your life. This helps you get past the past and grow forward into abundance. Let's get into it. Now, just to let you know, we're doing a special series called Countdown to Your Best Year Ever. So some of these lessons are going to be a little longer than normal, okay? Totally worth it, I promise you. Hi, everyone. It's JJ Conway back with our final time-tested success strategy for entrepreneurs, business leaders, speakers, and even mom. This is the last lesson of my Countdown to Your Best Year Ever course. So now, if you are new to me and my body of work, first of all, I want to thank you for being here today. Your time is your most precious resource, and I'm honored and I'm humbled that you are spending it with me and my tribe. Be sure to navigate to buildingwealthtogether.com so you can get the rest of this series. It is my Christmas and New Year's gift to you, free until January 31st. Now, I'm going to tell you, a lot of you are new from the speaking engagement yesterday, but let me tell you this. Every single person who took this class last year achieved their 2020 goals, despite COVID, despite the economy. It's not that these kinds of classes are crystal balls to say, oh, look, here's what's going to happen in 2021. I know what's going to happen in 2021 because I don't. But what I do know is that there are specific skills and behaviors and attitudes that you can put into place today that will allow you to succeed no matter what life throws at you. And today's lesson is my absolute favorite. We've talked about people being assets, not resources, and we've talked about how to vet people along your journey that might be potential future business partners, right? So this is a principle that I look for in anyone that I meet when I go to speaking engagements or take a class. And I'm always looking to vet people and see if they would make a future potential partner. And it doesn't take long working with somebody in collaboration or for hire mode to begin to see these aspects of their personality. Paul Martinelli says, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I have found that to be true. You cheat people in business or you're always blaming them for your mistakes. I get it. That's what we normally do because we like to cover up our faults and make ourselves look good, right? But I don't want to do business like that. See, I'm walking a walk of excellence. I don't want to be associated with people who cheat others, who steal their books or content. Now, look, nothing's new under the sun. But, I had someone steal my seminar one time, and I actually love her. That's the sad part, because she's a dominating young woman. She's definitely going to build an empire. So when she came back to my next conference, I said very clearly, look, there is nothing new under the sun. What I teach, I learned from somebody else, and nothing I teach you today is proprietary. It's just my way of teaching it, and it's my way of applying it to life. But if you take my content and reteach it, at least change the name and make it your own. And you know what else? I don't want to be associated with those who bait and switch or overcharge or high pressure sales. That's not my brand. That's not my tribe. You lie to me, and I'm sure I didn't just misunderstand, because that happens sometimes. We've talked about how the devil gets in the airwaves. He owns the air. He's the prince of the power of the air, right? So I don't make this judgment lightly. I make sure that I'm not just misunderstanding. But if you have a routine habit of lying to people, just bold-faced lying, well, we're not going to partner in business until I see some change. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not judgmental. I'm just saying I have a brand and I have a way, and I need people who I'm associated with to be alongside that brand and alongside that way. No judgment. We're just different. We speak to different audiences, and that's cool. One thing I found is that business is like dating. Now, if you have never read my 40 Dates in 4 Months book, go ahead and grab it off of Amazon. It is the true story of how I met my husband by basically going out with every guy who asked me out. And then I also include the lessons I learned being single again so late in life. The dating landscape had changed. So all my other books are serious, right? And this one is funny. But there are some serious lessons in it. And one of those lessons is when a guy emails or texts you and he doesn't ask you out after about a week or so, ask him when we're going to meet. This will filter out 85% of the guys I found online who were looking for an online fling or a virtual side piece, but never actually intended on meeting you in person. So out of the 300 plus guys that summer who approached me, I only actually met about 45 of them in person. The rest poofed when I asked, hey, when are we finally going to meet? So I learned not to get too attached to them. And it's the same with all these folks you meet at the trade shows. You have great rapport and you complement each other's strengths and you think you're going to go partner into business. Now, you need to go listen to my future partnerships lesson before you jump into a partnership, right? But the only way you're going to know if you're good in business together is to do something small together and see what happens. What happens when you plan a podcast together? What happens when you plan a larger event together? Or you decide to buy a website together? Ooh, you start to see somebody's real personality when they got to cough up money. How you do anything is how you do everything. You subscribe me to 4 of your lists and you add me to 20 of your Facebook groups, but you didn't join any of my stuff and you opted out of all my emails? Nah, boo, you don't know what it means to build wealth together. Okay, that's not actually today's principle. I spent a little more time on that today. That really goes with the one we did on future partnerships. But it was made real to me this weekend. So I just figured I'd throw that in. That's like a little bonus today, okay? Well, one thing I look for in a future business partner or collaboration that does go with today's lesson is I look to see if they're trying to cheat people. Now, look, y'all, I'm all about getting a good deal. I'm a financial planner. Y'all know most financial planners are cheap. Well, I mean frugal, right? And look, too many people insist that their 15-minute discovery session is worth $999, and you know it ain't. So go ahead and call that out, right? But I'm not going to invite a speaker who gets paid $12,000 per event to my event and then tell her she got to pay for the marketing. I'm not going to take advantage of the cashier accidentally giving me 20 when she should have given me a $5 for change. Now, some of y'all call that a blessing, but that is not a blessing for her when she got to make her drawer even at that night, right? And that $15 difference could make the difference between putting food on her table or going hungry another night. It could make the difference between her having a job tomorrow or getting fired. Now, look, I am not going to turn down a blessing. And I remember recently a boutique owner rang me up some stuff. It turned out to be way more expensive than either one of us thought. That was outside of our control, but I really kind of just had to pay it to get things done. You know how it is. Sometimes you just got to pay it and get it done, right? And she left off a trinket that I had added in because it put a smile on my face in the midst of all of that craziness. And I was about to go back in and pay for it when the Spirit chided me. She gathered all that up for you. She knew she could have charged you for it. Don't steal her blessing for blessing the woman of God. Oh, I was like, you know what? She was trying to bless me. I'm going to let her get her blessing from God. So I am all about a blessing. The more you bless me, I really believe the more God will bless you. Even when I'm wrong as 2 left shoes, sometimes, y'all, the Lord will still bless you. Just pray for me. One of the most important things that we can do as human beings, and it's the title of this lesson: enslave no one. Enslave no one. And this is a principle I learned from the 10 Edicts of Concept Therapy. Concept therapy was founded by Dr. Thurman Fleet. He's the person who developed the stickman model that I use in our Think and Grow Rich, Science of Getting Rich, As a Man Thinketh, and the Self-Image Rising course that's about to start. Dr. Fleet basically said if you did nothing else of the philosophy he created, which is the whole stick person and the 7 universal laws, all his work, right? Which I teach a lot of his work aligned with scripture, even though his spiritual leads are definitely not aligned with the bulk of my audience, all right? But a lot of his writings are aligned with biblical principles, okay? He said if you're only going to do one of his principles, this is the most important: enslave no one. The spirit of this principle is that we should never take advantage of someone. Now, we all know some people have a spirit where they are willing to overcommit themselves, because for some people, they are looking for approval, so they'll overcommit. We also know that some people will overcommit because they have low self-esteem, and so they set themselves up to be taken advantage of by some people, all right? Then some people have created a learning model in their lives where they play the role of the doormat, where they play the victim. And when you allow a person to do that, you enslave them. Let me say that again very clearly, all right? When someone presents themselves to you as a person that you can take advantage of, they play the victim, they overcommit, they have such low self-esteem that they are desperate for any droplet of approval, and they'll do whatever you ask, and you allow them to be that way for you, you may consider that a shrewd response. But what you're really doing is enslaving them. And I'm not just saying that because I used to be one of those folks, all right? In many psychological tests, there's this question that asks you to rate how much you agree with the statement, some people are put here on earth to be taken advantage of. And it's such a common belief in our culture to do just that, that you are considered psychotic if you put that you strongly disagree. So we all know people who are willing to sacrifice themselves and over-deliver. But at what cost? And should we allow that? We also know that there are times when people find themselves in a really tight spot in life where conditions and circumstance happen and they're there. They're just down on their luck or whatever it is. And they're willing to do just about anything. And I'm going to tell you right now, never enslave that person. Never take advantage of that situation. I love investing in real estate, and you see it a lot among rehabbers. You have people who come to your work site looking for a day's work because they know you're paying or your company's growing. Somebody would come up, they're down on their luck. Maybe they just came into the country, who knows, legally or illegally. I have no idea, right? They come up and they say, or maybe they have their friend who speaks better English comes to translate, hey, look, I'll work $25 for the day, $20 for the day. I'll do whatever. I'll do whatever you need for $20 all day. And, at one time I thought, hey, this is how you keep costs down, right? It's a win-win, right? But today, I would never let somebody work that hard for $25 a day. I would never enslave them. I would either say no if I can't use you, or I would say no, you're going to get paid the going rate, or I would give you something that's equivalent to what I can pay you. I'm certainly not going to take you for less than what's right. I'm not going to let you take less than what's right. I'm not going to let you take less than what I know your value to be. One of my mentors had a cleaning business, and he told me that sometimes he would have people who were working at night for him, and he knew that they were trying to start their own business during the day. So, for example, one guy's working for a lawn care company, and this guy would cut grass during the day and then clean offices at night, and he was working towards starting his own lawn maintenance business. Now, some bosses would cut their hours to make him more dependent on them or to punish the guy, right? But not Paul. What Paul would do is he would take this guy and introduce him to the building manager who hired Paul's cleaning business to clean the offices, right? And say, hey, look, somebody's got to cut your grass. This is the guy who manages your building at night. He knows the building. He knows everybody in the building. He knows it inside out, and he loves the building. And you know he's going to do a great job for you cutting your grass, because if he doesn't, I'll fire him. See, we can enslave our team in so many ways. We can build up our team in so many ways. But too many of us enslave our team, and then we justify it as good business or being a smart business person. Well, look at the gap. This guy is willing to work for $20 a day, and it's good for him. Hey, it's good for me. But it's not good for him. And you know that. Now, there's other times we don't know that we're doing it, right? And that's where this lesson comes in. It's now a new awareness. And with that new awareness comes all types of new responsibilities, y'all. This principle is no different than when we go in and we go to the cashier and they give us extra money back. Like I was saying earlier, the person made a mistake. Once you have this level of awareness, you don't say anymore, oh, look, it's my lucky day. You don't say anymore, oh, tough. They should have trained their people better. Hey, that's what they get for not hiring somebody who understands math to take the money. No. Enslave no one means that we don't allow a person to make a deal that we know is not good for them or in their best interest. It also means that we don't manipulate people into making decisions or life choices that aren't in their best interest, like me convincing employees to do more work over the weekend so that I don't have to work. I mean, look, that's pretty easy to justify, isn't it? I mean, come on, isn't that the reason most of us went into business? oh my goodness, there's so much work and I just want to go to the beach. I deserve some time off or whatever it is we tell ourselves, right? And so you give somebody 12 hours a day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you know by the end of that weekend, they're going to be wiped out. But you convinced them that it was good for them because they could make extra money, time and a half, double time, whatever it is, right? But really, it was good for you, not good for them. And you know that. Or how about this one? You got an employee who's under contract, who's worked for you, I don't know, maybe a couple of years, and you really depend on them. And they come into your office and they say, look, I've got a new opportunity. This is a great opportunity for my family or for themselves. It's the dream job. And what they're really asking you is, can they break their employment contract? Or maybe they're not even asking to break the contract, right? Maybe they're not under contract. They're just asking for your blessing. They're saying, hey, look, I feel terrible, but this opportunity came up. You know, I live in a college town now, and you already know you're going to lose your best employees when they graduate next year, right? And so you kind of, you don't want to stifle anybody, but you just want to hang on to your good people. It reminds me of my very first ever VA. She got this big time editing job, and what was I going to do? Say, no, I'm not happy for you? I mean, this was her dream, and I knew that from the get-go. Now, she's big time now. Now, if you're into the publishing world and I told you your name, you would be shocked that in 2007, she was VA for a silly little newbie real estate investor named Janine Wiggins. Back then, that was my name back then. I loved her. She was amazing. I'm going to tell you what, since then, no one honestly has lived up to her standard yet, but I'm still hoping. And when I find the person that lives up to her standard, boy, I'm going to pay them so much they will never, ever leave me. But I didn't waffle on her. I blessed her, and I let her leave in peace. It was better for her. It was better for her family, and now she's big time. Now look, it would have been better for me if she'd have stayed. Contract or no contract, but this move was better for her. And so if we try to drive that bargain to our benefit, we need to remember the rule: enslave no one. Physically, I think we can get that pretty easily, but we're also talking about enslave no one emotionally and enslave no one financially. And most of all, never enslave anybody spiritually. As a pastor, my heart breaks to see how many of God's children have been enslaved spiritually. I think we can all get the understanding of the term enslavement, because that means to make somebody a slave. But it also means to cause someone to lose their freedom of choice in action. And we can cause that to happen in so many ways, y'all. And the dangerous thing about it, we can so quickly justify it as good or smart business when perhaps the most dangerous form of all, we justify it by being the do-gooder. My Lord, more harm has been done by people trying to do good, or at least that's what they're telling themselves. To be a slave means you have lost your power to withdraw unilaterally from such arrangement, and you work without being paid or compensated. You work without remuneration. When we enslave people, we are exercising our power over them. It is a form of control. And look, when you get in a new relationship, there's a dynamic, right? It's like the basis of all hypnosis and stuff. And we're all hypnotized all day long by this new person in our lives. There's someone who's the originator of an idea, and there's someone who's the subjective. Somebody's playing the dominant role, and somebody's always playing the subjective role. That's the basis, okay? And so in every relationship you've got, somebody has the upbringing either emotionally or financially or with resources or whatever it is. And when you have it over somebody, you do. You know you have financial control over someone. You know you have spiritual control over them. The next time you're going to swoop in to save the day, I got a little test for you. Here's a great test to ask yourself before you start stepping in to save the day or before you start stepping in to be the do-gooder, all right? Ask yourself, what's the benefit to me? What's the benefit to me? What's the benefit to me if I do this good for them? If I do this good for them, if I really step in and help them, what's the benefit to me? What's the benefit to the person that I'm trying to convince to do something? You see, to convince means to cause someone to believe firmly in the truth of someone or to persuade someone to do something. If someone in your life is asking for your help or your counsel, are you giving them counsel on their options? Are you sharing with them the options they may not even know they have? Might you know options that they have and you withhold those options? Now, as a mom, sure, I do that all the time. I only give age appropriate options to my kids, right? But if someone comes up to you and says, look, I'm looking at either doing this or doing that, and it's in your benefit that maybe they're not aware of some other options, are you enslaving them into that decision? Are you trying to convince them to one way or another because there's some special benefit to you? Are you trying to persuade people into a particular decision? Are you giving them counsel on all their options? That you really see all the options that you're saying? Ask yourself, do you benefit from this decision? That is truly the highest test for a person with awareness. And you'll start to see this pay off over time, okay? A lot of us start off with, especially, like with real estate investing that I love, construction, cleaning businesses, things like that. We have workers who come to us after being with us for a couple years, and now they can stand on their own 2 feet. Like when they first came to us, they were in struggle, but now they can speak English. Now they got a driver's license. Now they've built a community support network. And guess what happens? They've grown. They have flourished in your environment. And now guess what? You got new opportunities. And the nature of your relationship is that you do have the power position. You're in the seat of control. So you have power over kind of the resources of that relationship. And in those moments, it may seem better for you to keep them working for you than to really counsel them on this new opportunity to leave. But what's best for them? Can your company give or offer them a greater opportunity that would truly be better for them? And what if staying with you is that protecting them from being harmed? Do you know something that maybe they don't know? Or we have to ask, what is the highest expression of this person's free will? Not ours. What is the highest expression of that person's free will? We see parents do this all the time, and I'm a big fan of putting your money where your mouth is as a parent, right? So please understand where I'm coming from here. If a child wants to go to state college, to an out-of-state college somewhere outside of the state, and mom and dad's like, well, if we're not gonna support you financially because we don't want you to go through the pain, we don't want you to go through the separation, we don't want you to be away from us. Mama doesn't want her little boy to leave the nest. No, we're not personal about this at all. I'm not ready for that discussion yet. Me and my husband had that discussion about how little man needs to go off and be in the dorms, and I'm like, whoa, too soon. But seriously though, there are parents who hamstring their kid's future because they don't want to lose their kid. And y'all know I don't like no student loans, right? But there is a difference in being pragmatic and being in control under the guise of being the do-gooder. We have to make room for them to make their own mistakes and decisions. We've got to allow that. And we can't enslave them financially. Well, you did not declare physics like your mom, so I'm just going to withdraw the financial support. Now we're going to see how you go on. Oh, you think you're better at I don't know. Let me see. You think you want to be a physical therapist? Well, I know that you scored the highest percentile in science and you need to go be a scientist. Well, fine. You want to be a physical therapist? You go do that on your own. Am I doing that out of love, or am I doing that out of ego and control and power? As aware people, we know. Now look, listen to me. As aware people, we know we are exercising our power and authority over another person when we do that. There is a difference between, we don't recommend you go to that party school because you'll have to take on loans, which is going to hamstring you for the first 10 of your career, and you're probably going to party too much and not graduate, but you could go by, stay focused, and graduate debt-free if you go to school nearby, right? That's a different saying than, well, you either go to my alma mater or you pay your own way just because you can. That's not love. That's control. We know when we're doing it for our own good, and we know when we're doing it for their own good. And there's a very high price to pay when we interfere in their spirit's natural expression. The spirit's natural desire to seek fuller expression and fuller expansion in their lives. We must never exert our will or have power over another person to manipulate them for our good. We must never mislead or miscounsel people into a decision that's not in their best interest. We must never allow a person to knowingly make a bad decision for their life or take action in a way that's not best for them just because it's better for us. Enslave no one. Our role as aware people is to be a perfect channel through which God can express himself for his good work. That's our purpose. We've got all kinds of people. Everybody's got their own purpose, right? No, there's this and that and that. No. You know what? The purpose we all have that's the same is to be the very best vehicle through which God can express himself. And sometimes that expression is in our own life. But increasingly, as we become more aware, as we become awakened, we become an agent for God. We become an awareness agent for God to help guide another person on their journey to enlightenment. And we must never abuse that position. We must never use that gift of authority, that gift of resource, that gift of awareness against someone. So be slow to step into the role of advisor, y'all. Check your motives, check your heart, check your agenda, and check your ego. Awareness comes with a massive responsibility, and if you misuse it, there is a price. Just as there is no private good, right? In other words, like when you type privately, there's no private good. That's coming back to you. When you step in and interfere with God working in somebody's life for their highest good, for their expression, there's no private harm either. There's a price to pay for that. So enslave no one. And if you run a company according to this principle, your company will be blessed. And you yourself, I tell you what, you will flourish if you run your life that way. People have the temptation to seek power over others. There's so many gurus of people who make this great progress, right? And then they realize that they can manipulate people, and then they turn into exploiting people. If you've been in the personal growth space for a number of years, you see it happen all the time in the church or outside of the church, okay? And you see that spiritually too. People who have a higher level of awareness, they can manipulate the use of scripture. They'll take a small biblical principle and manipulate someone in a time of vulnerability to manipulate them to do something that is not in their best interest to serve them. And when you fall into these situations, you may not even realize it, especially when you're following a spiritual leader. I had this bishop one time pressure me to build commercial websites for his friends, right? I was one of the first African American women to own a web design and hosting company. And I don't mind helping a friend of a friend, right? But after a while, it became manipulation. And I won't share with you what he said to me, but what he said opened my eyes that day. And I'm so thankful the Spirit was with me. Because there are so many of us in our churches based on power and manipulation doing all of this work for all of these people who are more spiritually aware, and they are taking advantage of us. I wish I could scoop you all up and bring you to my church where you'll be encouraged to develop your gifts, your spiritual and natural gifts, where you'll be encouraged to build thriving businesses and really grow. Enslave no one. When you do, there is a price. The best arrangements are mutually beneficial, even in business. When it's mutually beneficial, then it's going to last. Walmart in China is an example of this, right? Now, countries, if they have great trade and it's mutually beneficial for them to not be at war, then they're probably not going to go to war. That's the foundation of a lot of this aid and these trade relationships. If you didn't know that, that's really at the heart of why our country does so much of what it does. Now, I'm not saying I agree with everything and all the policies, but that's at the heart of it. Like we have a symbiotic relationship, so you're not going to attack us, right? It's a security thing, okay? We'll see how long that relationship remains mutually beneficial, right? I get a little worried about China. But anyway, mutually beneficial arrangements last. And it's the same with your team. If you're an entrepreneur and you have people that work for you, if the arrangements are mutually beneficial, then they're going to last. The opposite of that, of course, is that unequal exchanges soon die. And when they do die, there's resentments left behind. And then if you try and exploit someone and it goes south, oh, now it leads to future distrust on both of your parts. Even if they're the ones that in the end behaved badly and maybe they feel exploited, but they were actually the ones doing the exploiting, right? It makes you distrustful of people. So, it doesn't work on any level, all right? Unequal exchanges soon die. So it's got to be fair. And then the question is, who decides? Who decides what's fair? Now, we talked last time about how as emotional creatures, we perceive things out of who we are. And we have different degrees of fairness. We judge ourselves by our intentions, right? And we judge others by their results. And so we need some kind of agreement, right? The clarity of agreement. Now, in a large organization, that's typically going to be some kind of contract of employment, right? But remember what we said earlier in this series. While you can legislate for some things, you can contract employees for some things, the best companies leverage the discretionary goodwill of their employees. So they will bring much more of themselves to the job because they care so much. And your employees want to contribute so much more when they're motivated to do that. That's the discretionary goodwill. So the clarity of the agreement is important, but it's also inefficient to get what you want. And you could spend a whole lot of time arguing over this or that before you're even prepared to start. And in that kind of low trust environment, there's a great inefficiency. Oh, but there is a high efficiency in a high trust agreement, in a high trust environment. You can spend less time arguing over exactly what's fair if you can just move on and get forward with it, right? You're moving at the speed of trust, then you can achieve a lot more. You want your team members to make that discretionary decision. There's a difference between you asking somebody to give up that discretionary free will and someone giving that up right under their own idea of enslave no one. Okay? This is such a powerful concept. I hope you really got this today. You got to know yourself. The truth shall set you free. Now, we've talked about a lot today, and for many of you, you're probably still sitting in surprise that the ever-frugal financial planner herself is teaching this. But I hope you've seen as we walked through and really unpacked this concept that it is about walking in excellence, which I truly believe is required to walk in abundance, no matter how much money you make. This is why some people don't make much, but they are so abundantly blessed. They walk in abundance. They walk a wealthy life, not because they make a lot, but because they are a lot. And walking in excellence requires, for many of us, adjusting our levels of thinking and self-belief from what brought you to today's results. You've heard me say it before. I'm going to say it again. Einstein said, you cannot solve today's problems with the same level of thinking that brought you here, okay? With the same level of thinking that created those problems. So now if you haven't already, now is the time to register for the 2021 cohort of Self-Image Rising. It starts the first week of January. Now you can register at any time. You will still get the blessing, but this class is even more powerful live, and it'll show you how to completely redesign your thinking to bust through limiting beliefs and grow your net worth by growing your self-worth. So now if you're listening to this in the class portal for Countdown to Your Best Year Ever, all you got to do is click the next step lesson of the course. It'll take you right there. If you're listening to this as part of the Building Wealth Together podcast, You can find that on our website, buildingwealthtogether.com, or you can go to simply straight there at rebrand.ly/self-image. And remember, it's not too late to catch up with these lessons. The entire course is free. The Countdown to Your Best Year Ever course is free until January 31st. It's my gift to you. You can find it under Countdown to Your Best Year Ever at buildingwealthtogether.com. I'm JJ Conway. Thank you all for joining me. Y'all take care and be blessed. Love the podcast? Be sure to like, subscribe, and forward to 3 friends. You can ask a question or take a life-changing class at buildingwealthtogether.com. Now, go walk in abundance and leave a legacy.